Hello, this is chapter 11 from the textbook, Nutrition, which corresponds to module 7 for our class. Module 7.1, Nutrition and Calories. So for calories, it's used by the body, as you know, for movement and exercise, growth, metabolic processes like breathing, etc. And the unit we use for calories, we have here 1 cal is equal to 4.184 joules. We talked about joules, we talked about kilojoules before. And when we look at a food label, it's usually big cal, capital C. And that equates to, so 1 big C or 1 calorie is equal to 1,000 cals, which is equal to 1 kilocal. And here we'll look at two terms, undernourishment and malnutrition. Undernourishment is when you have a deficiency of nutrients, versus malnutrition is when you have an imbalance or deficiency of essential nutrients. So you could have someone who's overweight and they are lacking the proper nutrients and they're eating perhaps too much of things that are unhealthy. So you have two terms here that are similar, but not exactly the same. And obesity has become one of the adverse health effects that's actually quite prevalent in the United States. It's the #1 cause of death, actually. So here we have a food label on the right. As I just mentioned, it tells us the total calories per serving. Remember, big cal, capital CAL versus little cal. 1,000 little cals is one big cal. And usually on a food label, it tells us the total calories, the nutrient levels, the serving size here, 55 grams. So the amount of food, the nutrients that it's based on. And not shown here, but usually you also have a list of ingredients. And when you look at the list ingredients, the first item for the list of ingredients is usually the one that is the most abundant, followed by the second most abundant, the third most abundant, etc. Here's just a typical table of how much water content, how much fat, how much carbohydrates, and how much protein are in each of these, just some foods that we sometimes consume. So milk is actually 89% water, 2% fat, 5% carbohydrates, and 3% protein. And these numbers, when you add up, should add up to 100. If we compare this to our body, so the percent composition of the human body, we're mostly composed of water, about 56%, followed by protein, 21%, then fat, 15%, and then a small amount here, 8%, made up of minerals, carbohydrates, and vitamins, all essential components for human body. In terms of chemicals or elements, the body is made up of 65%. I'll write this down. It's about 65% oxygen, about 19% carbon, and about 10% hydrogen. You can see this is with water. About 3% nitrogen. And then the rest, other elements from the metal side, so the left side of the periodic table, like calcium, potassium, sodium, and also some non-metals like phosphorus too. So these go hand in hand. And we'll move forward on the next. We'll talk about fats and oils, carbohydrates, proteins, etc. in the next module.